They found my daughter's bracelet in wet concrete at 3 in the morning. The same bracelet I gave her on her 18th birthday. The same concrete that was poured in the dead of night when no construction crew should have been working. And when I pressed my hand against that cold, gray surface, I knew she was underneath it. Alive when they buried her. Screaming when the concrete covered her face. Hit like, subscribe for more betrayal stories, and comment your city or country. My name is Victor Kane. For 24 years, I served in Delta Force. I've hunted terrorists in mountains where most men wouldn't survive a week. I've made split-second decisions that saved lives and ended others. But none of that prepared me for the call I got on a Tuesday morning in late September. It wasn't even a call, really. It was a text from my daughter Ivy's manager at the cafe where she worked downtown Portland. Hey, Mr. Kane, is Ivy okay? She didn't show up for her shift today and isn't answering her phone. Ivy was 19. Responsible. Never missed work. Never ignored calls. My gut, the same gut that kept me alive in Fallujah and Kandahar, told me something was very wrong. I drove to her apartment. The door was unlocked. Her bed was made. Her phone charger was still plugged into the wall, but no phone. Her purse was gone, but her laptop sat open on the kitchen counter. A half-eaten bowl of cereal sat next to it, the milk long since spoiled. I called the Portland police. They sent a young officer named Brady who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. He took notes, asked the basic questions, and then gave me the line I'd heard 1,000 times in movies but never thought I'd hear in real life. Sir, she's an adult. Most missing person cases like this are just people taking off for a few days. Boyfriend trouble, maybe. Give it 48 hours. My daughter doesn't have boyfriend trouble, I said, keeping my voice level. And she doesn't just take off. Officer Brady shrugged. I'll file the report, but honestly, Mr. Kane, she'll probably show up by tomorrow. He didn't know me. Didn't know what I'd done. Didn't know that when I make a promise, I keep it. And I'd promised Ivy's mother, before she died of cancer 6 years ago, that I'd always protect our little girl. I started my own investigation that night. I went to the cafe where Ivy worked. Her coworkers loved her. One of them, a kid named Tristan with a nose ring and kind eyes, pulled me aside. Mr. Kane, Ivy was scared the last few days. She didn't say why, but I could tell. She kept looking over her shoulder. And there was this guy. What guy? I don't know his name. Tall, maybe 6'2". Had a scorpion tattoo on his neck. He came in 3 days ago and just stared at her the whole time. Didn't order anything. Just stared. Ivy looked terrified. When I asked her about it after he left, she said it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing, Mr. Kane. I could tell. I showed Tristan a picture on my phone. Did he look like this? I'd pulled up known gang members in the Portland area before coming here. Tristan's eyes went wide. He pointed at one face. That's him. That's the guy. His name was Felix Crane. Low-level enforcer for a gang that ran drugs on the east side. But Felix didn't give orders. He took them, which meant someone higher up had sent him. I spent the next 3 days doing what I do best, tracking. I used skills the military taught me and skills you don't put on a resume. I hacked into traffic cameras. I pulled phone records using old contacts who owed me favors. I traced Ivy's last known movements. She'd left her apartment at 9:47 p.m. on Monday night. Her phone pinged off a cell tower near 5th Avenue at 10:03 p.m. Then nothing. The phone went dark. 5th Avenue. That was near the docks. Near the warehouses. Near gang territory. I drove there at midnight. The streets were empty except for a few homeless people huddled under cardboard. I walked the area, looking for anything. A sign. A clue. Anything. That's when I saw it. A construction site. Big chain-link fence. Yellow caution tape. A sign that read, Riverview Apartments. Coming spring 2026. But what caught my eye was the concrete. Fresh concrete. Poured recently. And in the corner of the lot, partially hidden by a dumpster, was a work crew van. At midnight. On a construction site that should have been closed. I climbed the fence. Moved through shadows. Got close enough to see 2 men smoking cigarettes near the van. One of them was Felix Crane. The other was older, heavy-set, with a gray beard. They were laughing about something. I couldn't hear what. But then the older one said something that made my blood freeze. "Dom's gonna be pissed if anyone finds out we poured that slab early." He said wait till Friday, but we couldn't risk it. Dominic Raines. I knew that name. Every cop in Portland knew that name. Dom the Reaper. Raines ran the East Side. Drugs, guns, extortion. Untouchable because half the cops were on his payroll. I stayed hidden until they left. Then I walked onto the site. The concrete was fresh, maybe 2-3 days old. I knelt down, ran my hand over the surface. And that's when I saw it. A glint of silver in the moonlight, partially embedded in the edge of the slab where the concrete hadn't fully hardened yet. I pulled it free. It was Ivy's bracelet, the one I gave her, the one she never took off, the one with her initials engraved on the back. I stared at that bracelet. My hands started shaking, not from fear, from rage, from grief, from the knowledge that my daughter, my baby girl, was under that concrete. I called the police again. This time I demanded a supervisor. A detective named Quentin Morris showed up 20 minutes later. I showed him the bracelet, told him everything. He looked at me with tired eyes. "Mr. Kane, I understand you're worried, but a bracelet near a construction site doesn't mean she's under there," I said, pointing at the concrete. "I know she is. We can't just excavate a construction site based on a hunch. We need probable cause. I don't care what you need. My daughter is under that concrete." Detective Morris sighed. "I'll look into it. But Mr. Kane, you need to let us do our job. Don't go playing soldier here. This isn't Iraq." He left, and I stood there in the dark, holding my daughter's bracelet, knowing exactly what I had to do. I wasn't going to wait for the police. I wasn't going to wait for warrants and red tape and bureaucrats who didn't care. I was going to find who did this. And I was going to make sure they never hurt another person's child again. Because I'm not just a father. I'm Delta Force. And we don't leave anyone behind. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my truck outside the construction site until sunrise, watching, waiting, learning patterns. At 6 in the morning, a legitimate work crew showed up. They had no idea what was buried beneath their feet. I needed help. The kind of help the police couldn't give me. So I called the one person I trusted more than anyone on this planet. Logan Pierce answered on the second ring. "Victor? It's 5 in the morning, brother. This better be." They took Ivy. Silence. Then I heard rustling, footsteps, a door closing. When Logan spoke again, his voice was different. Sharper. "Tell me everything." Logan and I served together for 12 years. He saved my life in Syria. I saved his in Yemen. After we both retired, he started a private investigation firm in Seattle. If anyone could help me navigate this nightmare, it was him. He arrived in Portland 6 hours later. We met at a diner 2 blocks from the construction site. I slid Ivy's bracelet across the table. His jaw tightened. "You're sure?" he asked. "I'm sure." Then we moved fast. But we moved smart. You go in guns blazing, you end up in prison, and whoever did this walks free. You understand me? I nodded. Logan was right. I'd spent 2 decades operating in war zones, but this wasn't a war zone. This was American soil. Different rules. Different game. "I need to talk to her friends," I said. "Someone knows something. Start with the closest one. Best friend." People tell their best friends everything. Ivy's best friend was a girl named Clara Walsh. They'd been inseparable since middle school. I tried calling her 3 times already, but she never answered. So Logan and I drove to her apartment near the university. When Clara opened the door, her eyes were red and swollen. She'd been crying. The second she saw me, she started crying again. "Mr. Kane, I'm so sorry. I should have told you. I should have said something, but I was scared. Clara." I kept my voice gentle. "I need you to breathe. And then I need you to tell me everything." We sat in her small living room. Logan stayed by the door, watching the street outside. Clara twisted a tissue in her hands, shaking. "About 3 weeks ago, Ivy and I went to a party. Just a normal college party. But on the way home, we cut through this alley near Morrison Street. There were these guys doing a deal. Drugs, I think. Or money. I don't know. But they saw us. And Ivy, she pulled out her phone. I don't know why. Maybe she was going to record them. Maybe she was just nervous. But one of them saw her. Who? I asked. I don't know his name. But he was young. Hispanic. Tattoos all over his arms. He started yelling at us. Told us to forget what we saw. Said if we talked, we'd regret it. Did you go to the police? Clara looked away. Ivy wanted to. She said we had to. But I was scared. I told her it was probably nothing. That we should just forget it. And for a few days, it seemed fine. But then what? She started getting texts. From a blocked number. At first they were just warnings. Keep your mouth shut. Mind your business. But then they got worse. More specific. They mentioned where she worked. Where she lived. And then last week, Clara's voice broke. She pulled out her phone with trembling hands and showed me screenshots. The last message was sent 2 days before Ivy disappeared. Last chance. Stop asking questions or you'll disappear. Asking questions? Logan said from the doorway. What questions? Clara wiped her eyes. Ivy didn't listen to the threats. She went to the police 3 days before she went missing. She filed a report about the guys in the alley. Gave descriptions. Everything. My blood went cold. Who did she talk to? A detective. I don't remember his name. But Ivy said he seemed interested. Said he'd look into it. Logan and I exchanged a glance. He was thinking the same thing I was. If Ivy went to the police and then disappeared 2 days later, that meant someone in the police department tipped off the gang. Do you remember anything else about the guys in the alley? I asked. Anything at all? Clara thought for a moment. One of them called the other one Rains. I remember because it's such an unusual last name. Rains. Dominic Rains. Everything clicked into place. Ivy witnessed Dominic's people doing a deal. She reported it to the cops. Someone leaked that information back to Dominic. And he decided to eliminate the problem. I stood up. Clara, I need you to do something for me. I need you to stay with family for a few days. Don't go to class. Don't go to work. Just disappear for a while. Why? Because if they know Ivy talked to the police, they might know she talked to you too. Clara's face went pale. Logan stepped forward. I'll arrange protection. A friend of mine runs security. He'll keep an eye on you. After we left Clara's apartment, Logan drove while I stared out the window. My mind was racing. Building a plan. Calculating risks. We need to find out which cop Ivy talked to. I said. Already on it, Logan replied. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Hey, it's Pierce. I need a favor. I need to know which detective took a report from a girl named Ivy Kane about 4 days ago. East Side drug deal. Yeah, I'll wait. 2 minutes later, Logan hung up. His expression was grim. Detective Quentin Morris. The same detective who told me to wait. The same one who brushed me off when I showed him Ivy's bracelet. The same one who told me not to play soldier. He's dirty, I said quietly. Looks that way. I felt rage building in my chest, but I forced it down. Rage wouldn't help Ivy now. Only cold, calculated action would. We can't go to the Portland PD, Logan said. If Morris is dirty, we don't know who else is. We need federal help. I know someone, I said. FBI. Agent named Mason Cross. We worked together on a joint task force in Afghanistan. He's clean. Call him. I did. Mason answered on the 4th ring. I explained everything. Ivy's disappearance, the bracelet, the construction site, the texts, Detective Morris. Mason listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long silence. Then Mason spoke. Victor, I've been trying to build a case against Dominic Rains for 3 years. He's untouchable. Every time we get close, evidence disappears or witnesses recant. If what you're telling me is true, if Morris is on his payroll, that explains a lot. I need your help, Mason. I need to get that construction site excavated. And I need to do it before they move her. Move her? If they know I'm looking, they'll dig her up and move her somewhere we'll never find her. Mason was quiet for a moment. I can get a warrant, but it's going to take time. And I need more than a bracelet. I need enough probable cause to convince a judge. Then I'll get you probable cause. That night, Logan and I went back to the construction site. We waited until midnight, then climbed the fence again. This time, we weren't just looking. We were documenting everything. Logan had brought equipment, cameras, audio recorders, infrared scanners. We swept the entire lot. And what we found made my stomach turn. The ground temperature around the concrete slab was different, warmer. The infrared scanner picked up a heat signature beneath the surface. Something organic. Something that was decomposing. Logan took soil samples from the edges of the slab. We photographed everything, recorded everything. And then, just as we were about to leave, headlights swept across the lot. A car was pulling in. Logan and I dropped behind a pile of lumber. The car stopped near the slab. Two men got out. One was Felix Crane. The other was someone I didn't recognize. Older, well-dressed, expensive watch. They stood there talking in low voices. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught fragments. Kane's been asking questions. Morris says he can handle it. Dom wants it dealt with tonight. The well-dressed man looked at the concrete slab and shook his head. Should have just burned her. This was sloppy. Felix shrugged. Concrete was faster. They left 5 minutes later. Logan and I waited another 20 minutes before moving. When we finally got back to the truck, Logan looked at me. We have enough. Call Mason. I did. Sent him everything we'd gathered. The photos, the recordings, the infrared scans, the soil samples. Mason called back 30 minutes later. I'm meeting with a federal judge at 8 a.m. If she agrees, we'll have a warrant by noon. Make her agree, Mason. I will. But Victor, you need to prepare yourself. If your daughter's under that concrete, it's not going to be easy. I know. But I didn't know. Not really. Because nothing in my 24 years of military service could prepare me for what we'd find when they started digging. The judge signed the warrant at 11:47 a.m. By noon, the construction site was surrounded by federal agents, forensic teams, and excavation equipment. News vans lined the street. Reporters shouted questions I didn't answer. Detective Quentin Morris showed up 20 minutes after the feds arrived. His face was tight, angry. He walked straight to Mason. What the hell is this? This is my case. My jurisdiction. Mason didn't even look at him. Not anymore. Federal warrant. Federal case. Step back, detective. Morris glared at me. I stared right back. He knew I suspected him, and I wanted him to know. The excavation started at 1 p.m. They brought in a small digger to break through the top layer of concrete. I stood behind the police tape with Logan beside me. My hands were shaking. Logan put a hand on my shoulder. You don't have to watch this, brother. Yes, I do. The concrete cracked. Piece by piece, they lifted it away. The smell hit me first. Sharp, chemical, wrong. The forensic team moved in with shovels, carefully removing dirt and debris. And then one of them stopped. Raised his hand. We've got something. My heart stopped. Everything around me went silent. I couldn't hear the reporters anymore. Couldn't hear the machines. Just my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. They cleared away more dirt. And then I saw it. Plastic. Black plastic sheeting. Wrapped around something. Mason walked over to me. His face was pale. Victor, maybe you should. No. The forensic team carefully unwrapped the plastic. And there she was. My daughter. My Ivy. Her face was gray. Her lips were blue. Her eyes were closed. But what destroyed me was her hands. They were above her head, fingers clawed. She tried to push her way out. She'd been alive when they buried her. She'd fought until the very end. I collapsed. Logan caught me, held me up while I broke into pieces. I didn't cry. I couldn't. The grief was too deep for tears. It was a black hole that swallowed everything. Mason came over after the medical examiner finished the initial assessment. His voice was gentle. Victor, I'm so sorry. We'll need you to make a formal identification, but not now. Take your time. How long? I asked. My voice didn't sound like mine. How long what? How long was she alive down there? Mason hesitated. Then he sighed. The medical examiner will need to run tests. But based on initial findings, possibly an hour. Maybe more. An hour. My daughter spent an hour buried alive in concrete, screaming for help that never came. While I was at home sleeping, while the world kept turning like nothing was wrong, I looked across the site. Detective Morris was on his phone, talking in a low voice. He saw me watching and quickly hung up. "Mason," I said quietly. "Arrest him." "What?" "Morris." He tipped off Dominic. "Arrest him right now." Mason shook his head. "I can't. Not yet. We don't have proof." "Then get proof. Because if you don't, I will. And you won't like how I get it." The news broke that evening. Every channel showed the same images: the construction site, the excavation, my daughter's body being removed in a black bag. My phone rang constantly. I didn't answer. I just sat in my apartment, holding the bracelet, replaying every moment of the last 19 years. Logan stayed with me. Didn't say much. Just sat there, being present. That's all I needed. Around midnight, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You should have minded your business, old man. Now you're next." I showed it to Logan. He took a picture of the screen. "Send this to Mason." I did. Mason called 5 minutes later. "We're tracing it." "But Victor, you need protection." "These people are. I don't need protection. They need protection from me." I hung up. Logan looked at me with concern. "Victor, don't do anything stupid. Let the FBI handle this." The FBI has been trying to handle this for 3 years. Dominic's still walking free. Because they're building a case. A real case that will put him away forever. My daughter is dead, Logan. She died screaming. And the man who ordered it is sitting in his mansion right now, drinking expensive wine and laughing about it. Logan grabbed my shoulders. I know you want to kill him. I would too. But if you do that, you throw away everything. Your freedom, your honor. Ivy wouldn't want that. He was right. I knew he was right. But knowing and feeling are two different things. The funeral was 3 days later. Small. Quiet. Just me, Logan, Clara, and a few of Ivy's coworkers. The cemetery was on a hill overlooking the city. I stood there staring at the casket, thinking about all the moments I'd never have. Walking her down the aisle, meeting her kids, growing old while she lived her life. All stolen, all gone. After everyone left, I stayed, knelt by the grave, and I made her a promise. I'm going to get him, baby girl. Not with bullets. Not like I used to. I'm going to destroy him the right way. I'm going to make sure he never sees daylight again. And I'm going to make sure every single person who helped him goes down too. I promise you. When I got home, Mason was waiting at my door. He had a folder in his hands. What's that? I asked. Everything we have on Dominic Raines. Names, addresses, financial records, known associates. I'm not supposed to share this with civilians. But you're not a civilian. You're a father who lost his daughter. And I need your help. I took the folder. What do you need me to do? Help me build a case that's bulletproof. Use those Delta Force skills. Surveillance. Intelligence gathering. Evidence collection. But you do it my way. Legal. Clean. No vigilante justice. Can you do that? I looked Mason in the eye. As long as he ends up in prison for the rest of his life, I'll do it however you want. Mason nodded. Then let's get to work. The folder Mason gave me was thick. Bank statements. Phone records. Surveillance photos. Dominic Raines had built an empire on blood and fear. And he'd been smart about it. Always keeping himself 3 steps removed from the actual crimes. But everyone makes mistakes. And I was going to find his. Logan and I set up a command center in my apartment. Maps on the walls. Timelines. Photos. We worked 18-hour days, tracking Dominic's movements, identifying his crew, finding patterns. 3 days into our investigation, Clara called me. Her voice was shaking. "Mr. Kane, there's a man outside my apartment. He's just sitting in a car, watching. He's been there for 2 hours. Stay inside. Lock the doors. I'm sending someone." I called Mason. He had an agent there in 15 minutes. The car was gone by then, but we all knew what it meant. Dominic was tying up loose ends. Clara was a witness, a liability. Mason moved her to a safe house that same night. And that's when I made a decision. I needed to force Dominic's hand. Make him nervous. Make him sloppy. So I did something risky. I went to his club. The place was called Apex, downtown Portland. High-end. Expensive drinks, private rooms, celebrities, and criminals mixing like it was normal. Logan tried to stop me. This is suicide, Victor. You walk in there, you're on his turf. Good. I want him to know I'm not hiding. I walked through those doors at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night. The music was loud, the lights were low, and everyone looked at me the second I stepped inside. I didn't belong there, and they knew it. I walked straight to the bar, ordered a whiskey, and waited. It took exactly 7 minutes. A large man in a black suit approached me. Earpiece. Dead eyes. Security. You need to leave. I'm just having a drink. You're not welcome here. Then tell your boss to come tell me himself. The man's jaw tightened. He spoke into his wrist mic. 30 seconds later, another man appeared. Well-dressed. Expensive suit. Cold smile. Dominic Raines. He was shorter than I expected. Maybe 5'10", but he carried himself like a king. Like he owned everything and everyone around him. Victor Kane, he said, sitting on the stool next to me. I've heard a lot about you. Delta Force, right? 24 years. Impressive. You killed my daughter. Dominic's smile didn't fade. That's a serious accusation. You have proof. I will. See, here's the problem, Victor. You're a soldier. You follow rules. Honor. Chain of command. But this isn't a battlefield. This is my city. My rules. And people who don't follow my rules tend to disappear. I turned to face him. Looked him dead in the eyes. You think I'm scared of you? I think you should be. Your daughter wasn't. Look how that turned out. I lunged. Grabbed him by the collar. His security rushed forward, but Dominic raised a hand. They stopped. He smiled. Go ahead. Hit me. Right here. In front of all these witnesses. Give me a reason to have you arrested. Or better yet, buried next to your daughter. Every instinct screamed at me to break his neck. Right there. Right then. But Logan's words echoed in my head. Don't throw everything away. I let go. Stepped back. Dominic straightened his collar, still smiling. Smart man. Now get out of my club. And stop asking questions. Or next time, it won't just be your daughter. It'll be that friend of hers. Clara, right? Pretty girl. Be a shame if something happened to her. That's when I knew. He'd just confessed. Not directly, but enough. And I had a wire taped to my chest, recording every word. I walked out of that club, got in my truck, drove 3 blocks, then pulled over and called Mason. I got him. He threatened Clara. Implied he killed Ivy. It's all on tape. Mason was silent for a moment. You wore a wire into a mob boss's club without telling me. Would you have let me go if I told you? No. Exactly. Now we have him on tape. Use it. Mason sighed. Send me the recording. But Victor, you just painted a target on your back. Dominic knows you're coming for him now. He's going to come for you first. Let him try. The next morning, I woke up to someone pounding on my door. I grabbed my gun, checked the peephole. It was a courier. I opened the door. He handed me an envelope and left without a word. Inside was a single photo. Clara, walking out of the FBI safe house. Someone had been watching her, and they wanted me to know. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. You've got 24 hours to back off, a voice said. Not Dominic. Someone else. Or the girl dies. And this time, we won't be quick about it. They hung up. I immediately called Mason. They found Clara. They're threatening to kill her. That's impossible. Only 3 people know where she is. Me, you, and Agent Sullivan who's guarding her. Then one of you told someone. Or you've got another dirty cop in your office. Mason cursed. I'm moving her. Right now. But it was too late. An hour later, Mason called me back. His voice was tight. Sullivan's dead. Shot twice in the head. Clara's gone. My blood went cold. Gone. Taken. They left a note. Says if you want her back alive, you meet Dominic tonight. Alone. Unarmed. The old cannery on Industrial Road. Midnight. It was a trap. Obviously. Dominic wanted me dead, and he was using Clara as bait. Logan was furious. You can't go. They'll kill you both. If I don't go, they'll kill her for sure. Then let the FBI handle it. Let Mason. Mason can't save her. He's been trying to take down Dominic for 3 years, and he's gotten nowhere. This ends tonight. I spent the rest of the day preparing. Not for surrender. For war. I might have agreed to go unarmed, but I never said I'd go unprepared. At 11:45 p.m., I pulled up to the old cannery. It was dark. Abandoned. Perfect place for an execution. I walked through the rusted doors. Inside, a single light hung from the ceiling. And beneath it, tied to a chair, was Clara. Her face was bruised. Blood on her lip. But she was alive. Dominic stepped out of the shadows. He had 4 men with him. All armed. Victor Kane. Right on time. Let her go. This is between us. You're right. It is. But first, we're going to have a conversation. About respect. About knowing your place. About what happens when people cross me. He nodded to one of his men. The man raised his gun, pointed it at Clara's head. Dominic smiled. Last chance. Walk away. Leave Portland. Forget your daughter. Forget all of this. Or I kill this girl right now. I looked at Clara. She was crying, shaking, terrified. Then I looked at Dominic. And I smiled. You should have taken my deal, I said. That's when the FBI crashed through every entrance. Lights, guns, shouts of federal agents. On the ground, Dominic's face went white. He tried to run. Didn't make it 3 steps before 2 agents tackled him. Mason walked up to me, shaking his head. You used yourself as bait. And it worked. They arrested all 5 men. Freed Clara. And as they hauled Dominic away in handcuffs, he looked at me one last time. The smile was gone. And I knew. This was just the beginning. Dominic Raines sat in a federal holding cell for exactly 48 hours before his lawyers got him out on bail. $5 million. He paid it like it was pocket change. Mason called me the morning Dominic walked free. I'm sorry, Victor. The judge said we didn't have enough to hold him. What do you mean not enough? He threatened Clara. He kidnapped her. We have him on tape. His lawyers argued entrapment. Said you provoked him. And the recording from the club is fuzzy. They're claiming you edited it. We need more. Concrete evidence linking him directly to Ivy's murder. I slammed my fist on the table. Logan looked up from his laptop where he'd been tracking Dominic's crew. So what now? I asked Mason. Now we build a case he can't walk away from. Phone records. Financial transactions. Witnesses. We need someone from his inner circle to flip. That'll never happen. They're all too scared of him. Then we make them more scared of prison. Over the next 2 weeks, Logan and I became ghosts. We followed Dominic's crew everywhere. Photographed every meeting. Recorded every conversation we could. We tracked money through shell companies and offshore accounts. Mason worked his end, pressuring low-level dealers, offering immunity deals, squeezing information out of anyone connected to Dominic's operation. We discovered Dominic had 15 properties across 3 states. Legitimate businesses that were actually fronts for laundering drug money. A trucking company that transported product. A nightclub that sold more than drinks. But the breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Felix Crane, the enforcer I'd seen at the construction site. The one who'd helped bury my daughter. Logan found him at a dive bar on the east side. Felix was drunk, paranoid, looking over his shoulder every 5 seconds. Logan approached carefully. Felix Crane. Felix's hand went to his waistband. Logan raised his hands. Easy. I'm not a cop. I'm private. And I think we can help each other. I don't talk to PIs. Not even ones who can keep you alive. That got Felix's attention. Logan sat down across from him. Dominic's going down. You know it. I know it. The FBI knows it. And when he does, he's going to take everyone with him. Unless you're smart enough to get out first. Felix laughed bitterly. You don't get out. Not from Dom. You leave, you die. Or you testify. Get witness protection. New name, new life, new start. I testify. I'm dead within a week. Logan leaned forward. You don't testify. You're spending the next 30 years in prison. Because the FBI has your fingerprints at the construction site. They have you on camera. You were there when they buried that girl. You're going down as an accessory to murder. Felix's face went pale. I didn't kill her. That was Dom and his brother Ryder. I was just told to help with the cleanup. Then prove it. Tell us everything. We'll get you a deal. Felix was quiet for a long time. Then he pulled out his phone. I recorded something. Insurance, in case Dom ever turned on me. But if I give you this, you promise I walk. I can't promise that. But I can promise the FBI will go easier on you than they will on Dominic. Felix thought about it. Then he forwarded a video file to Logan's phone. When Logan showed me the video later that night, I had to walk away. Had to breathe. Because it showed everything. Ivy, tied up in a warehouse. Crying. Begging. Dominic standing over her. Cold and emotionless. His brother Ryder holding a gun. Please, Ivy said on the video. I won't tell anyone. I swear. Please just let me go. Dominic crouched down. You already told someone. You went to the cops. That was a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please. Too late. He nodded to Ryder. And then the video showed them dragging her out of the warehouse. The timestamp matched the night she disappeared. I couldn't watch the rest. Logan turned it off. This is it, he said quietly. This is everything we need. I called Mason immediately. Sent him the video. He called back 10 minutes later. Where did you get this? Does it matter? Yes. If this was obtained illegally, we can't use it in court. Felix Crane gave it to us voluntarily. He wants a deal. Mason was silent. Then he said, I'll talk to the prosecutor. If Felix testifies and this video is authenticated, we can arrest Dominic tonight. Do it. By 9 p.m., federal agents raided Dominic's mansion. They dragged him out in handcuffs in front of news cameras. His lawyers screamed about rights and illegal searches. Didn't matter. This time, the evidence was bulletproof. They arrested Ryder the same night. And 4 other crew members, including the 2 men who'd actually poured the concrete. But there was still one loose end. Detective Quentin Morris. Mason brought me to FBI headquarters the next morning. We sat in an interrogation room with Morris across from us. He looked nervous but tried to hide it. Why am I here? Morris asked. I haven't done anything wrong. Mason slid a folder across the table. Bank records. Showing 6 deposits of $10,000 each into your account over the past year. All from shell companies owned by Dominic Raines. Morris's face twitched. That's not what that is. Those are bribes, Mason finished. We also have phone records showing 12 calls between you and Dominic the week Ivy Kane disappeared, including one call 2 hours after she filed her report. You told him she talked, and he killed her because of it. Morris stood up. I want a lawyer. Sit down, I said. My voice was cold. Morris looked at me and saw something in my eyes that scared him. He sat. You let my daughter die, I said quietly. You took dirty money and you sold her out to a monster. And now you're going to pay for it. Mason leaned forward. Here's the deal. You testify against Dominic. Full cooperation. Or we charge you as an accessory to murder. Either way, your career is over. But one way, you might see daylight again in 15 years. The other way, you die in prison. Morris's hands were shaking. If I testify, Dom will have me killed. Then you better hope we keep him locked up forever. Morris broke. Told us everything. How Dominic had been paying him for 3 years. How he'd tipped off Dominic about investigations. How he'd made evidence disappear. How he'd delayed Ivy's missing person case on purpose. By the end of his confession, I wanted to reach across that table and end him. But I didn't. Because he was more useful alive. Mason had everything recorded. Everything signed. Everything legal. That night, I went to Ivy's grave. Knelt down. Told her what we'd accomplished. We got him, baby. We got all of them. The trial starts next month. And I'm going to be there every single day. I promise you, he's never getting out. The wind blew through the trees. And for the first time since I'd found her bracelet in that concrete, I felt something like peace. Not closure. Not yet. But hope. Hope that justice would finally be served. The trial date was set for November 15th. But before we could get there, the defense made one last desperate move. They challenged the video evidence, claimed it was doctored, demanded their own forensic analysis. The judge agreed, and for 2 agonizing weeks, everything hung in the balance. Mason kept me updated daily. The FBI's tech team is working with independent experts. They'll prove the video is authentic. Just be patient. But patience was never my strong suit, especially when Dominic was out on bail, living in his mansion, probably planning his next move. Then something unexpected happened. Another body was found. A construction worker doing repairs on an old building downtown discovered human remains behind a wall. The medical examiner identified her as Natalie Porter, a 22-year-old college student who'd gone missing 14 months earlier. And the building? Owned by one of Dominic's shell companies. Mason called me immediately. This changes everything. We can connect Dominic to at least 2 murders now. Maybe more. We're getting warrants to search every property he owns. Over the next week, they found 3 more bodies. All young women. All killed the same way. The media called him the concrete killer. The city was in shock. But for me, it was confirmation of what I'd already known. Ivy wasn't Dominic's first victim. She was just the one who finally brought him down. The forensic analysis came back on the video. Authentic. Unedited. Admissible in court. Dominic's lawyers tried to get it thrown out on technicalities. The judge denied every motion. The trial was back on. Opening statements began on a cold Monday morning. The courthouse was packed. Reporters lined the hallway. I sat in the front row with Logan on one side and Clara on the other. Dominic walked in wearing an expensive suit, clean-shaven, looking like a businessman. Not a monster. His lawyers had coached him well. But when he glanced at me, I saw the truth in his eyes. Fear. The prosecutor was a woman named Harper Reeves. Mid-40s. Sharp. Relentless. She'd built her career prosecuting organized crime. If anyone could put Dominic away forever, it was her. Her opening statement was powerful. She showed the jury photos of Ivy, told them about her dreams, her kindness, her future that was stolen. Then she showed them the video. The courtroom went silent. Some jurors looked away. One woman covered her mouth. But they all saw it. Saw Dominic order my daughter's death. Saw him show zero remorse. When the video ended, Harper looked at the jury. That man sitting right there decided a 19-year-old girl deserved to die. Not because she hurt anyone. Not because she was a threat. But because she saw something she wasn't supposed to see. And he made sure she'd never tell anyone. Dominic's lawyer, a slick man named Preston Blake, tried to spin it differently. He claimed Dominic was framed. That the video was taken out of context. That my daughter was involved in illegal activities and got caught up in something dangerous. It was disgusting. But I stayed calm. Because I knew the evidence would speak for itself. Over the next 2 weeks, the prosecution brought witness after witness. Clara testified about the threats. Felix Crane testified about the burial. Detective Morris testified about the bribes and corruption. The medical examiner testified about how Ivy died. The jury's faces grew darker with each detail. But the most damaging testimony came from Dominic's own brother, Ryder. Ryder had been offered a deal. 25 years instead of life without parole. All he had to do was tell the truth. And he did. He described everything. How Dominic ran the operation. How he ordered hits. How he buried anyone who crossed him. And how he'd laughed about Ivy's death. Dom said she was stupid, Ryder told the courtroom. Said she should have kept her mouth shut. He told me to make sure nobody ever found her. So we poured the concrete at night. Made it look like normal construction. Preston Blake tried to discredit Ryder on cross-examination. You're testifying to save yourself, aren't you? You'd say anything to get a lighter sentence. Ryder looked at him coldly. I'm testifying because I'm done protecting a psychopath. My brother is a monster. And I should have stopped him years ago. The defense crumbled after that. They tried to bring character witnesses. People who said Dominic was a good businessman, a generous donor, a family man. But it rang hollow after everything the jury had seen and heard. On the final day of testimony, Harper called me to the stand. I hadn't expected that, but I took the oath and sat down. Harper asked me about Ivy, about who she was, about what she meant to me, and I told them everything. About her laugh, her dreams of becoming a teacher, how she volunteered at animal shelters on weekends, how she called me every Sunday just to check in. By the time I finished, half the jury was crying. Even the judge looked emotional. Preston Blake didn't cross-examine me. Smart move. Closing arguments took place on a Friday. Harper stood before the jury and pointed at Dominic. That man took a daughter from her father. He took a future from a young woman who had her whole life ahead of her. He did it without mercy, without hesitation, and he would have gotten away with it if Victor Kane hadn't fought for justice. Don't let him walk free. Give Ivy the justice she deserves. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they came back, the foreman stood. The judge asked for the verdict. On the count of first-degree murder, we find the defendant guilty. The courtroom erupted. I closed my eyes, felt Logan's hand on my shoulder, heard Clara crying beside me. On the count of kidnapping, guilty. On the count of conspiracy, guilty. 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 On all 17 counts. Dominic's face went white. His lawyers immediately began talking about appeals, but the judge silenced them. Sentencing will be in 2 weeks. Bail is revoked. Remand the defendant into custody immediately. They led Dominic away in handcuffs. As he passed my row, he looked at me one last time. And I looked right back. I didn't smile, didn't gloat, just stared. Because this wasn't about revenge. It was about justice. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed me. I gave a brief statement. Today, my daughter got the justice she deserved. But there are other families out there still waiting, still searching. Don't let this be the end. Keep fighting. Keep pushing. Because justice is worth it. That night, Logan, Clara, Mason, and I sat in a quiet restaurant. We didn't celebrate, just sat together, shared stories about Ivy, remembered her. She'd be proud of you, Clara said quietly. I hope so. 2 weeks later, Dominic Raines was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Detective Morris got 15 years. Ryder got 25. Felix got 12. The system had worked. Slowly, painfully, but it had worked. You'd think that after Dominic was sentenced, everything would settle, that I'd find peace. But the truth is, justice doesn't erase grief. It doesn't bring back the dead. It just makes sure the guilty pay. I spent the first month after the trial in a fog, going through motions, visiting Ivy's grave every Sunday, staring at old photos. Logan checked on me daily, worried I'd do something stupid. But then something shifted. I realized I couldn't just sit around waiting to die. Ivy wouldn't want that. So I decided to do something with the pain, turn it into purpose. I started the Ivy Kane Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to helping families of missing persons. We offered resources the police couldn't, private investigators, forensic experts, legal support. Everything I'd used to find my daughter, I made available to people who couldn't afford it. Clara joined as a volunteer coordinator. Logan handled the investigative side. Mason connected us with FBI resources. Within 6 months, we'd helped locate 12 missing people. 8 of them came home alive. But the work also showed me how many monsters were still out there. How many families were still searching, still grieving, still fighting systems that didn't care enough. One case hit me particularly hard. A woman named Brooke Matthews came to our office in tears. Her 17-year-old son, Hunter, had disappeared 3 weeks earlier. The police told her the same thing they told me, probably a runaway. Give it time. But Brooke knew better, just like I had. Logan and I took the case, started investigating, and within 2 days, we found a connection that made my blood run cold. Hunter's disappearance matched a pattern. 3 other teenagers had vanished in the same area over the past year, all from low-income families. All cases that got minimal police attention. I called Mason. We've got another one. Maybe more. Someone's targeting kids, and the cops aren't doing anything about it. Mason pulled strings, got federal involvement, and what we uncovered was horrifying. A trafficking ring operating out of a truck stop on Interstate 5. They'd been kidnapping teenagers for years, selling them across state lines. We found Hunter alive. Barely. He was traumatized, malnourished, but alive. The FBI arrested 14 people in the raid, rescued 23 victims. Brooke hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. You gave me my son back. How can I ever repay you? You can't, I said. But you can help the next family. That's how this works. She became one of our biggest advocates. Started raising funds, speaking at events, turning her pain into power. The foundation grew. We opened chapters in 3 states, trained volunteers, partnered with law enforcement agencies that actually cared, and every single person we helped, every family we reunited, felt like a small piece of Ivy's legacy living on. But there was still unfinished business, something that had been eating at me since the trial. Dominic Raines might be in prison, but his empire hadn't collapsed. Someone had taken over his operations. The drugs were still flowing. The violence continued. And I knew if I didn't stop it, someone else's daughter would end up buried in concrete. I met with Mason at a coffee shop one morning. Who's running Dominic's crew now? Mason hesitated. Victor, you need to let this go. You did your part. Dominic's locked up for life. Move on. I can't. Not when I know there's still poison out there. Mason sighed. His cousin, guy named Julian Raines. Younger, smarter, more careful than Dominic. We've been watching him, but he's clean. Doesn't get his hands dirty. Everyone's dirty if you dig deep enough. Victor, just tell me where to find him. Mason stared at me for a long moment. Then he slid a file across the table. I can't officially help you with this. But if you happen to find evidence of illegal activity, you know where to send it. I spent the next 3 weeks shadowing Julian. He was careful, just like Mason said. Legitimate businesses. No obvious crimes. But I'd hunted men smarter than him in war zones. And eventually, everyone makes a mistake. Julian's mistake was arrogance. He thought because his cousin was locked up, nobody was watching him anymore. So he got sloppy, started meeting directly with suppliers, handling transactions himself instead of using middlemen. Logan and I documented everything. Photos, recordings, license plates, bank transfers. And when we had enough, we handed it all to Mason. The FBI raided Julian's operation on a Tuesday morning, seized $2 million in drugs, arrested Julian and 16 others. The news called it the final blow to the Raines crime family. That night, I visited Ivy's grave. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple. I think we got them all, baby girl. The ones who hurt you. The ones who would have hurt others. They're done. The wind rustled through the trees. And for the first time in over a year, I felt like I could breathe. I wasn't healed. Maybe I'd never be. But I was moving forward, building something good from something terrible. And that felt like the closest thing to peace I'd ever find. Clara met me at the cemetery gates. She'd brought flowers. Thought you might want company, she said quietly. We stood together at Ivy's grave. 2 people who loved her. 2 people who survived the nightmare. Do you think she knows? Clara asked. Everything we've done? Yeah, I said. I think she does. We stayed until the stars came out. And when we finally left, I didn't look back. Because I wasn't running from the past anymore. I was carrying it with me. Using it. Letting it make me stronger instead of bitter. Ivy's death had broken me. But it hadn't destroyed me. And that made all the difference. 6 months after Julian's arrest, I thought the worst was behind me. The foundation was thriving. We'd helped 32 families find their missing loved ones. I'd even started sleeping through the night again. Then I got a letter, hand-delivered to my apartment. No return address, just my name written in neat block letters on the envelope. Inside was a single piece of paper with 7 words. You didn't get everyone. Check your daughter's phone. My heart stopped. Ivy's phone had been recovered from the construction site. Damaged. The FBI had extracted what data they could for the trial, then returned it to me. I'd never looked at it. Couldn't bring myself to. I dug it out of the box in my closet where I kept her belongings. The screen was cracked, the battery long dead. I charged it for an hour, hands shaking the entire time. When it finally powered on, I scrolled through her messages. Most were normal, texts to Clara, conversations with coworkers, memes and jokes. But then I found a thread that made my blood freeze. Messages from someone named AT, starting 3 months before she died. The first message was simple. Saw you at the cafe today. You're beautiful. Ivy had responded politely. Thank you. But the messages got progressively stranger. More personal. More obsessive. I watched you walk home. You shouldn't take that route. It's dangerous. I know you're thinking about me. I can feel it. We're meant to be together. You just don't see it yet. Ivy had stopped responding after that. But the messages continued. Dozens of them. Growing angrier. More threatening. Why are you ignoring me? You think you're too good for me. You'll regret this. The last message was sent the day before she disappeared. Last chance, Ivy. Meet me tonight, or you'll be sorry. I immediately called Mason. We missed someone. There was someone else stalking Ivy before Dominic killed her. What are you talking about? I sent him screenshots. Someone with the initials AT. They were threatening her for months. What if they're connected to Dominic? What if they're the one who told him about Ivy in the first place? Mason was quiet. I'll run the number. Give me an hour. That hour felt like a lifetime. I paced my apartment, rage building. We'd missed something. Someone had slipped through our investigation. Mason called back. The number's a burner. Bought with cash at a convenience store in Southeast Portland. No way to trace who bought it. What about the messages? Can we track IP addresses, location data, anything? The FBI techs are already on it. But Victor, even if we find this person, it doesn't change what happened to Ivy. Dominic killed her. We know that. But what if this AT person set it up? What if they were working with Dominic? Or they're just a creep who happened to be stalking your daughter at the same time? Coincidence happens. I don't believe in coincidence. I hung up and called Logan. Told him everything. He arrived 30 minutes later with his laptop. Let me see the messages, he said. We analyzed them together. The language, the phrasing, the timestamps. Logan had been doing this kind of work for years, tracking down stalkers, building profiles, finding patterns. Whoever this is, they knew Ivy's schedule, Logan said. They knew where she worked, where she lived, what route she took home. That's not casual stalking. That's surveillance. So either they followed her for months, or they had access to information about her. Someone close. That thought twisted my gut. Someone close to Ivy? Who? Logan pulled up Ivy's social media. Started cross-referencing her friends, co-workers, anyone who might have the initials AT. We found 3 possibilities. Adrian Torres, a regular at the cafe. Blake Anderson, who went by his middle name Andrew. And Tristan, the co-worker who told me about Felix Crane. His last name was Aarons. AT. If you used his first and middle initial. Start with Tristan, I said. He was the one who pointed me toward Felix. What if that was intentional? What if he was trying to redirect my attention? Logan nodded. We drove to the cafe where Ivy had worked. Asked the manager about Tristan. She looked uncomfortable. Tristan quit about a month after Ivy disappeared. Said the place had too many bad memories. Do you have a forwarding address? No. He just stopped showing up. Red flag. Logan and I started digging. Tristan Aarons had no social media presence after Ivy's death. No credit card activity. No phone records. He'd vanished. He's running, Logan said. People don't disappear like this unless they're hiding something. We spent 3 days tracking him. Used every contact, every resource we had. Finally got a hit. Tristan had been spotted in Eugene, 2 hours south. Working at a bookstore under a different name. We drove there immediately. Found him restocking shelves. When he saw me, his face went white. He ran. Made it maybe 10 feet before Logan tackled him. We dragged him into the back office. Victor, I didn't. I swear I didn't hurt her. Then why did you run? Why'd you change your name? Tristan was crying now. Because I knew you'd think it was me. I sent those messages, okay? I had a crush on Ivy. I thought maybe she liked me back. But when she didn't respond, I stopped. I swear I stopped. You threatened her. I was stupid. I was hurt. But I never touched her. When she disappeared, I panicked. I thought the cops would find the messages and arrest me. So I ran. Logan grabbed him by the collar. Did you tell anyone about those messages? About Ivy? No. I swear. Did you know Dominic Raines? Felix Crane? Anyone from that crew? Tristan's face changed. I knew Felix. He came into the cafe a few times. We'd talk. He asked about Ivy once. Asked if she had a boyfriend. My stomach dropped. What did you tell him? I said no. That she was single. That's it. I didn't know he was. I didn't know what he was going to do. But he had known. Maybe not consciously. But he'd pointed a killer toward my daughter. I wanted to hurt him. Wanted to make him feel a fraction of the pain Ivy felt. But Logan pulled me back. He's not worth it, Logan said quietly. Let the FBI handle him. We called Mason. He sent agents to pick up Tristan. He'd be charged with stalking, harassment, maybe more depending on what the investigation uncovered. But driving home, I felt hollow. We'd found the missing piece, but it didn't change anything. Ivy was still gone, and no amount of justice would bring her back. Logan glanced at me. You okay? No, but I will be. Tristan's arrest should have closed the final chapter. But 2 weeks later, Mason called with news that shattered everything I thought I knew. Victor, we need to meet. Now, there's something you need to see. I met him at FBI headquarters. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. He led me to a conference room where files were spread across the table. What's this about? I asked. Mason sat down heavily. After we arrested Tristan, we dug deeper into his connection with Felix Crane. And we found something. Communications between Felix and someone else. Someone we didn't expect. He slid a folder toward me. Inside were transcripts of text messages. My hands started shaking as I read them. The messages were between Felix and someone saved in his phone as AM. They dated back 2 years. Discussions about Dominic's operation. About targets. About people who needed to disappear. And then I saw Ivy's name. The girl from the cafe is asking questions. What do we do? The response. Dom wants her gone. Make it clean. My vision blurred. Who is AM? Mason's jaw was tight. Agent Amelia Morrison. FBI. She's been on our task force for 3 years. The room tilted. What? She was Dominic's inside source. Not just Morris from Portland PD. We had a rat in the FBI too. She's been feeding him information, protecting his operation, and she's the one who told Felix about Ivy. I couldn't breathe. An FBI agent. Someone who was supposed to protect people. Someone who sat in meetings with Mason, probably listened to our plans, knew everything we were doing. Where is she? My voice was cold. We arrested her this morning. She's in custody. But Victor, there's more. More? Mason pulled out another file. Morrison kept records. Insurance, she called it. Evidence of every crime she helped Dominic commit. Names, dates, locations. She was planning to use it for immunity if she ever got caught. And there are 8 more bodies, Victor. 8 people Dominic had killed that we didn't know about. Morrison helped cover them up. Made evidence disappear. Redirected investigations. 8 more families destroyed. 8 more people buried in unmarked graves. And an FBI agent made it all possible. I want to talk to her, I said. That's not. Mason. I need to look her in the eye. He hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes. That's all I can give you. They brought me to an interrogation room. Amelia Morrison sat on the other side of the glass, handcuffed, looking defiant. Mason opened the door, let me in. Morrison looked up. She was younger than I expected. Maybe 35. Pretty. Normal. The kind of person you'd never suspect. Victor Kane, she said. I wondered when you'd show up. I sat down across from her. Why? Why what? Why did you help him? You're FBI. You took an oath. She laughed bitterly. An oath doesn't pay off student loans. Doesn't cover my mother's medical bills. Dominic offered me more money in 1 year than the FBI pays in 10. So yeah, I took it. And my daughter? What was she worth to you? Morrison's expression didn't change. She was a liability. She saw something she shouldn't have. Dominic wanted her gone. I facilitated it. That's business. I wanted to reach across that table and end her. But I didn't. Because she wasn't worth throwing my life away. You know what the difference between you and me is? I said quietly. I've killed people. Dozens of them. But I did it to protect innocence. You killed innocence to protect yourself. That makes you worse than Dominic. Because at least he was honest about being a monster. For the first time, Morrison's mask cracked. Just for a second. Then she looked away. I stood up. I hope you live a long life in prison. Long enough to think about every person you destroyed. I walked out. Mason was waiting. They're adding her to the prosecution, he said. Conspiracy, accessory to murder, corruption. She'll never see freedom again. Good. The trial reconvened 3 weeks later. The prosecution added new charges against Dominic based on Morrison's records. The jury heard testimony about the 8 additional victims, saw photos of their families, heard their stories, and they heard Morrison's confession. She'd taken a plea deal, 40 years in exchange for full cooperation. She sat on that stand and described every crime she'd helped commit, every life she'd helped destroy. The jury looked sick. The judge looked furious. And Dominic, for the first time, looked scared. The defense had nothing. No witnesses. No evidence. No way to spin this. Closing arguments were brief. The prosecutor simply said, "The evidence speaks for itself. Dominic Raines is responsible for at least 9 murders. He corrupted law enforcement at every level. He destroyed families. And he did it all without remorse. Give these victims justice. Find him guilty." The jury deliberated for 90 minutes. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous. Guilty on all counts. The judge looked at Dominic. "Mr. Raines, you've shown a complete disregard for human life. You've corrupted institutions meant to protect people. You've caused immeasurable suffering. I hereby sentence you to 9 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. You will die in prison." Dominic was led away. He didn't look at me, didn't look at anyone, just stared straight ahead as they took him to spend the rest of his life in a cage. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. I gave a brief statement. Justice was served today, not just for my daughter, but for every victim of Dominic Raines. And I want to thank the honest law enforcement officers who never stopped fighting. The ones who proved that good still exists in this world. Mason stood beside me. "We couldn't have done it without you, Victor." "Yes, you could have. You just would have taken longer." That night, I visited Ivy's grave one last time. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the cemetery. "It's over, baby girl. Really over this time. Dominic, Morrison, Tristan, all of them. They're all going to prison. You can rest now." The wind blew softly through the trees. And I swear I felt something. Not a ghost. Not anything supernatural. Just a feeling. Like she was telling me it was okay to let go. I placed flowers on her grave. "I love you, Ivy. Always." And then I walked away. Not running from the past. Just ready to face the future. The day Dominic Raines was transferred to maximum security prison, I stood outside watching the transport van drive away. 24 years in Delta Force taught me patience. Taught me that some battles take longer than others. But that day, I finally understood what victory felt like. Not celebration, not joy, just quiet peace. Clara graduated college that spring. She invited me to the ceremony. When they called her name, she walked across that stage with her head high, and I thought about Ivy, about how proud she'd be of her best friend. After the ceremony, Clara hugged me tight. "I'm moving to Seattle. Got a job at a nonprofit helping abuse victims. Because of you. Because of what you taught me about turning pain into purpose. Your parents must be proud." "They are. But you're the one who saved my life, Mr. Kane. Twice. I'll never forget that." She left Portland the next week. We still talk every Sunday. She's building the kind of life Ivy would have wanted for her. The Ivy Kane Foundation kept growing. We expanded to 12 states, helped locate over 200 missing people, trained law enforcement agencies on better investigation techniques. And every single case we closed felt like keeping my promise to my daughter. One morning, Logan walked into the office with a serious expression. "Victor, there's something I need to tell you." My stomach tightened. "What?" "I got an offer. Department of Justice wants me to head a national task force on human trafficking. It's everything I've been working toward, but it means leaving Portland, leaving the foundation." I should have been disappointed. Instead, I smiled. "Take it." "What?" "You've got a chance to save lives on a massive scale. Ivy would want you to take it. I want you to take it." Logan's eyes got misty. "You're my brother, Victor. I can't just—" "Yes, you can. And you will. Because that's what we do. We move forward. We keep fighting." He left 3 weeks later. But we still talked daily. Still worked cases together when we could. Some bonds don't break just because distance gets in the way. Detective Morris served 2 years before another inmate, someone whose family Dominic had destroyed, took justice into his own hands. Morris didn't survive the attack. When Mason told me, I felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not sadness. Just emptiness where revenge used to live. Agent Morrison wasn't so lucky. She lived. 40 years stretched ahead of her in federal prison. Sometimes I wondered if she thought about the people she'd destroyed, if she felt anything resembling remorse. But mostly, I didn't think about her at all. Tristan served 5 years for stalking and obstruction. He sent me a letter from prison once. An apology, explaining how sorry he was, how he never meant for any of it to happen. I read it once, then burned it. Some apologies come too late to matter. Mason and I stayed close. He visited Ivy's grave with me every year on the anniversary of her death. Never said much. Just stood there, being present. That meant more than any words could. On what would have been Ivy's 25th birthday, I did something different. Instead of visiting her grave alone, I organized a memorial event. Invited every family we'd helped through the foundation. Over 300 people showed up. We shared stories, lit candles, and I stood before them and said, "My daughter's life was stolen, but her death gave birth to something beautiful. Every person we've brought home, every family we've reunited. That's Ivy's legacy. That's how we win against evil. Not by becoming it, but by creating something better." People cried, hugged, thanked me, and I realized something profound. I'd spent 24 years in combat zones fighting enemies I could see. But the real battle, the one that mattered most, was fought right here. In communities, in families, in moments of choosing hope over despair. That night, back at my apartment, I pulled out a box I'd kept hidden for 2 years. Inside were Ivy's belongings. Her bracelet, her favorite jacket, photos from her childhood. I'd been too afraid to look at them, afraid the grief would swallow me whole. But now I spread them out, looked at each photo, remembered each moment. And instead of drowning, I floated. The memories didn't hurt anymore. They healed. I picked up her bracelet, the one I'd found in that concrete, held it in my palm, and I made one final promise. I'm going to keep living, baby girl. Not just surviving, actually living. Because that's what you'd want. And everything I do from here on out, every person I help, every life I save, I'm doing it for you. The foundation continued its work. We never stopped, never slowed down. Because evil doesn't rest, so neither could we. And me? I finally started seeing a therapist. Started processing the trauma instead of burying it. Started accepting that grief and joy can exist in the same heart. I even started dating again. Nothing serious. Just coffee with a woman named Violet who volunteered at the foundation. She understood loss. Had buried her own son years ago. We took it slow. No pressure. Just 2 broken people learning how to be whole again. Life wasn't perfect. Some days the grief still hit like a truck. But most days I could breathe, could smile, could see the sunrise and feel grateful instead of empty. Ivy's killer died in prison. Her accomplice rotted there. And the corrupt system that enabled them got exposed, torn down, rebuilt better. Justice wasn't just served. It transformed into something lasting. Something that would protect other daughters, other families, other futures. And that, more than any revenge, more than any punishment, that was real victory. So let me ask you something. If you lost someone you loved, could you turn that pain into purpose? Could you choose justice over vengeance? Drop your answer in the comments below. And tell me, where are you watching from? What city? What country? I love seeing how far these stories reach. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more thriller and epic revenge stories. Because we're just getting started, and I promise you, the next one will blow your mind. Also, let me know in the comments what kind of stories you want to hear next. Betrayal? Family drama? Military revenge? Corporate takedowns? Tell me what you love, and I'll bring you stories that'll keep you hooked from start to finish. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Stay strong. And remember, justice always finds a way. Story finished.